Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cao Zheng. I'm a professor of Chinese at the University of Montana. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. Well, it looks like it's good. For that size of audience, it would be good. So everybody has a chance later on to ask a question. Everybody has to ask one question at least, okay? I'm a professor of Chinese at the University of Montana. Yeah, let me say a few words about our Chinese program before we get it started, so give other people a chance to come. Yeah, we have a Chinese program on campus for about 30 or 35 years. We have a long history, and this program has been a very strong program, and we have trained a lot of students who later on served in a little bit different capacities for different fields of works, and we have trained people who later on become English teachers over there in China, and business people over there in China too. And we also have people who worked for Max Baucus, who was the American president, hope he will be the president, right? Well, American ambassador to China for 3 years in the past. So one of our students who worked for him. And then we have students working in the Defense Department. Actually, there are quite a few of them who are still working for that department, State Department. And then we have people working in 2 coasts for international companies, which have a business with China. And then we have also a lot of students who do an internship over there in China. And right now, also, we have 6 or 7 students teaching English over there in China. So, well, there are lots of possibilities when you have learned Chinese. And right now, it's the time of registration, right? So I strongly suggest that you consider about learning Chinese, and you will never regret that you learn Chinese. And here we have a shining example here, Dr. Eric Schulzer. Well, he learned Chinese as a major when he was an undergraduate student, and then he went to China quite a few times. I actually lived there for a few years, and then he went to Harvard University and earned a PhD, and now he is a shining, rising star at the University of Montana. And yeah, we are so lucky to have him here. So that's our Chinese program. We have a minor, and that means 2 years Chinese, and then you have to take 3 other China-related classes, including classes taught by Professor Xu Laoshi. And well, in a little while, you can experience his Chinese. Actually, now he speaks better Chinese than I do. And that's Eric. Now, let me say a few words about our guests. Our guests today are from Shanghai International Studies University, which is a national key university in China. Last year, actually, it was ranked 28th of all the universities in China. So it's a very prestigious university. I feel very proud of my friends, and also I feel proud of myself too, because I came from that university as an exchange professor. So I always call that university my home university. And this is my visiting university. I came here for a visit in 1989, and I'm still visiting. So this is my visiting university, and Shanghai International Studies University is my home university. And the Middle East Research Institute is one of the very important research institutes in Shanghai University. Whenever there's something happening in that region of China, if you tune to CCTV or Radio Beijing or read People's Daily or some other major newspapers or magazines, and you will see Professor Liu and Professor Zhang, who was here last year, and Professor Ding and Professor Zhu and other professors from Shanghai International Studies University, particularly from that research institute. It's a nationally well-known institute. And actually, well, they brought with them a magazine, and this is a nationally well-known magazine too. And Dr. Kia Meridad is editorial member of this magazine. So we have a few copies there. And when you go out, if you like, you can take a copy with you. It's a good magazine. And today we have 4 speakers today, and I'm going to introduce them to you according to their seating order. And the first one is Professor Liu, and he is not new to us. And this is his 3rd time that he has been here on our campus. And the first time when he came, that was in 2013, I think, either 12 or 13. And this already is his 3rd trip. And he is the director of the Middle East Research Institute at Shanghai International Studies University. And he did his doctoral degree in Beijing University. And then he served as a faculty member at different universities before came to Shanghai International Studies University to serve as the director. And through his efforts, lots of projects have been going on over there. And the institute was developed. And just 3 years ago, it was it became became a part of a think tank over there in China. And the think tank in China is a little bit from here. Over there, it serves as the advisory force over there for the government. So I don't know, every week or every 2 weeks they have to write something so that the top leaders in China will read to get themselves familiar with the situation over there happening in the Middle East. And he has been traveling very extensively, where he has been to over a dozen countries in the Middle East. And he did his researches in different countries, including Britain, United States, and a few countries in the Middle East. And he has published very extensively, and he has written so far over a dozen books, and he has published over 100 or probably close to 200 articles in different magazines. And so he is well known in the area. And today we are really fortunate to have him here to give us a talk. And this is Professor Liu, and his topic for today is, let's see. Three trends of Islamic forces in Middle East politics. So this is Professor Liu, and the next is Professor Ding. Professor Ding is a professor in the area of first in Arabic language, and then he shifted a little bit to the politics and the diplomats in the Middle East. And actually, where he is from an ethnic group of China, it's called Hui. And in China, we have 2 major Islamic ethnic groups. 10 ethnic groups, and 2 of them are major. That means they have over 10 million population, and the major one is a Hui ethnic group, and Professor Ding actually is part of that. And the other one is a Uyghur. That's in the northwest part of China. It's an autonomous region called Xinjiang Autonomous Region, on which Professor Schlussler is the expert. And where he also served as a faculty at different universities. And last year, or 2 years ago, he was recruited by the Middle East Research Institute in Shanghai. So that's Professor Ding, and today's topic is Sino-Middle East and Central Asia Relations, Historical Foundation and Realistic Motivation. So that's Professor Ting. And then next to Professor Ting is Professor Zhao, who is relatively young, but also he is well experienced in that area. And right now he is an associate professor at that institute. And he also travels extensively in the Middle East region, and he also visited quite a few other countries for the purpose of his research. And there is a high chance that he might come and visit for 1 year, starting from next fall. So welcome. And his topic today is Sino-Middle East, and is that your topic? And Asia relations, okay, historical foundation. Oh, that's okay. Oh, okay. And then cooperation. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And last but not least is Professor Zhou Ziqiang. Oh, okay. Right now he's an assistant professor at that institute, and he's a PhD in Shanghai, and he also has published quite a few articles, probably over a dozen articles in different magazines. His topic today is, let's see, the crisis of Turkish model and Turkey-European Union relations in the context of economic stagnation. That will be his topic. And the conference today will go like this, and professors will present their topics in that order. And then after the completion of the 4 presentations, Professor Schlusser will make some comments. Well, let's put our hands together and welcome Professor Liu.
Thank you very much, Professor Cao. It's my 3rd time to be here, and it's my great pleasure. Today, my topic is 3 trends of Islamic forces in the Middle East politics. As we know, Islam is not only religious belief, tradition, culture, but also political system and important social forces. In recent years, various Islamic forces have been long-term structural factors in the Middle East politics, especially since the Arab Spring. The development of Islamic forces had 3 trends and exerted great impacts on the transformation of Arab countries and international relations in the Middle East. Here, I will mainly focus on the trends and the impacts of Islamic forces. Here, I will divide Islamic forces into moderate Islamism, also named political Islam. And the second force is sectarian forces. The third force is Islamic extremism. My fundamental point is that the crisis of moderate Islamism and the intensification of sectarianism created a great opportunity for the rise of Islamic extremism, such as ISIS. The first part, I will talk the crisis of Islamism forces. Islamism forces, which also named political Islam, have been declining in these recent years. The most important mark is the overturn of Muslim Brotherhood after its 1 year in office and lately being defined as terrorism organization by Sisi regime. I think it was the most serious setback of Islamic forces. The rise and fall of Muslim Brotherhood not only changed the political situation inside Egypt, but also exerted great impacts on international relations in the Middle East. Objectively, Islamism forces were not the leader of Arab Spring, and the essence of Arab Spring was not Islamism movement. However, Arab Spring provided a great historical opportunity for the rise of Islamism forces and made it possible for Islamism parties to take in power in transforming Arab countries. I think Islamism parties were neither the organizer nor leader of Arab Spring, but Arab Spring provided a huge opportunity for Islamic parties such as Justice and Development Party, governed by Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. In fact, Islamism forces' participation in Arab Spring is a continuation of moderate Islamism forces' legal political participation since 1980s. The only difference is that the Arab Spring provided more relaxed political environment and more possibility for Islamism parties to take in power through democratic elections. In this process, Egypt's Freedom and Justice Party, Tunisian another party, and Morocco's Justice and Development Party drew most attention. However, after Egypt's Freedom and Justice parties and Tunisian another party lost power, Islamism forces have been declining. In this process, I want to emphasize 3 points. First, Islamism forces had no governance capability in guiding the transformation of Arab countries. In Arab Spring, many Islamic parties transformed from oppositions to govern with people's high expectations. After coming in power, many missions such as achieving economic growth, decreasing unemployment, improving people's livelihood, developing education, and fighting against corruption, fighting against terrorism were ahead of them. Against such a background, Islamic parties, however, had no experience of managing societies and dealing with crises as governor. I think that's why they failed in the end. I want to emphasize that the history has provided opportunities for Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamic parties, but they didn't hold the opportunity, and they could not undertake the historical mission of leading transformation of Arab countries. Second, on the regional level of international relations, the decline of Islamism forces reflected the contradictions between moderate and traditional Islamic forces. From the perspective of international relations, Gulf monarchies such as Saudi Arabia and other GCC countries was the main supporter of Muslim was the main forces against Muslim Brotherhood, but Turkey was the important supporter of Muslim Brotherhood. So this fact reflected the contradictions between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Finally, the decline of moderate Islamic forces, such as the Muslim Brotherhood, especially Egypt and some other countries, defined the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorism organization, which provided huge space for the development of extreme Islamic forces, including Qaeda and ISIS. As we know, in recent days, a lot of terrorist attacks happened in Egypt, especially in Sinai Peninsula. Now I will talk about another Islamic forces. It is sectarian forces in the Middle East. I think sectarian forces, especially sectarian contradiction between Saudi Arabia and Iran, named Sunnis and Shiite contradiction, was the core contradiction in the Middle East politics. In recent years, sectarian conflict has not only impacted Arab countries' transformation, but also been used as a tool for regional powers to contend for regional leadership, which profoundly impacted on the international relations and the restructure of geopolitical pattern in the Middle East. Now, in the Middle East, geopolitical and sectarian contradictions between two camps with Saudi Arabia and Iran as the center, respectively, are growing obvious. Such confrontations are not simply sectarian conflict, but the combination of geopolitical confrontation for regional leadership, national contradiction between Arab and Persian, and contradiction between Sunnis and Shiite. In recent years, during the Middle East unrest, sectarian contradiction was mainly reflected in a lot of countries, such as Bahrain, Syria, and Yemen issues. On the one hand, the people in these countries were divided into two camps according to sectarian identity. On the other hand, with the support of external forces, sectarian conflicts within these countries transformed to disputes among proxies. And the fact is, Saudi Arabia and GCC countries supported Sunnis, and Iran supported Shiite. Here, I want to emphasize 3 points of sectarian contradiction in the Middle East. First, sectarian contradiction was an important tool for political mobilization of regimes and oppositions in Bahrain, in Syria, in Yemen, and in Iraq, and created conditions for the intervention of external forces. Second, in name of sectarian contradictions, Saudi Arabia and Iran interfered in internal affairs of Bahrain, Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. Sectarian contradiction has also been used as a tool for Saudi Arabia to contain Iran. Due to domestic Shiite problems, collective security of GCC, and pursuing to contain Iran, Saudi Arabia made use of sectarian contradictions to interfere other countries' affairs. The U.S. made use sectarian contradictions to reshape the regional pattern for its own interest. Here I want to emphasize an interesting phenomenon. In the Middle East, Sunni countries are all allies of America, and the Shiite countries is the enemy of the U.S. And the U.S. make use this contradiction between Sunnis and Shiite and impact the Middle East affairs. Fourth, at present, there is also contradiction inside Sunni groups. It is the contradiction between Turkey and Saudi Arabia. They want to get the leadership of Sunnis in Arab and Islamic worlds. The last, I want to talk about the rise of Islamic extremism forces. Since the Middle East unrest, factors including the extremely difficulties in transformation of Arab countries, serious confrontation between religious and secular forces, emerged sectarian conflicts, expanding of local and tribal forces, worsening of economic and livelihood problems, negative impacts of the war in Libya and Syria, as well as other problems such as refugee problems, created favorable conditions for the development of Islamic extremism forces. Here I will mainly discuss ISIS. Now, ISIS has already replaced Qaeda as the core of international terrorism and become the main launcher of large-scale terrorist attacks, the maker and sender extremism and terrorist ideology, and the leader of extremism organizations around the world. Here I want to talk about its realistic threats and ideological threats. Its realistic threats include three aspects. First, ISIS expanding and governance in its dominance has not only threatened the nation-state system in East Mediterranean region, moreover, its demonstration effect and the expanding of its branches also threatens the nation-state system in the Middle East and even the whole Islamic world. Second, under the pressure of international coalition against terrorism, ISIS focused both on home and abroad, launched a lot of terrorist attacks in world, especially in Europe and neighboring countries, and led to the emerging of the active period of global terrorism. Finally, ISIS terrorist attacks interweaved with refugee problems has not only become a huge challenge for global governance, but also impacted on the relationship among different civilizations and ethnic groups, especially Western civilization and Islamic civilization. Finally, I will talk about the ideological threats of ISIS from 4 aspects. First, ISIS extremely emphasized the practice of establishing the so-called caliphate, even more than enthusiastic Qaeda. ISIS' so-called state building aimed to change the existing nation-state system in the Middle East and denied the regional order after the World War I. Its ideal is to establish a huge Islamic caliphate countries in the world. Second, ISIS firmly insisted on extremism opposing Shiite as a Sunni Islamic extremism organization. ISIS emphasized the contradictions between Sunnis and Shiite. ISIS deliberately emphasized sectarian contradiction and hatred. This phenomenon reflected its opportunism of making use of sectarian conflicts and intensified sectarian conflicts in the Middle East. Thirdly, ISIS extremely emphasized killing innocent people in name of Takfir and challenging mainstream of Islamic values. It not only made Arab secular governor as apostates and main target of jihad, but also regarded ordinary Muslims who opposed it as apostates. ISIS even expanded the objects of pagans to all non-Muslim regions and groups. Guided by Salafist jihadism, ISIS brutality completely deviated from Islamic tradition of peace, distorted impartial core values, and seriously undermined the image of Islamic civilization. The fourth, ISIS stressed to strike both far enemies and near enemies, At the same time, here, far enemies is the West, especially the US and Europe. Near enemies is the Arab secular regime. At the same time, it also emphasized on offensive jihad toward all opponents. The abuse of jihad by ISIS has been strongly opposed by the whole civilized world, including Islamic world, and went beyond the tolerance limit of Qaeda and other Salafi jihadism. That's all. In general, my core points is since the Arab Spring, moderate Islamism forces such as Muslim Brotherhood suffered a great crisis, and sectarian conflicts became great troubles in the Middle East politics. And all this provided a huge opportunity for the rise of Islamic extremism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Liu, for your insightful talk. Our next presenter will be Professor Ding. His topic is Sino-Middle East and Central Asia relations, historical foundation and realistic motivation. Let's put our hands together.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My topic is Sino-Middle East and Central Asian countries' relations, historical foundation and realistic motivation. And it will include two parts. The first part is historical foundation of Sino-Middle East and Central Asian countries' relations. We know search for knowledge even as far as in China. For more than 1,000 years, this famous proverb, which reputedly was said by Prophet Muhammad, has been well known by all in the Middle East and Central Asian region. And it was even right with beautiful Arabic calligraphy on the dome of the Royal Mosque of Bursa in Turkey, the Ottoman Empire's first capital. For a long time, this old Arab proverb has made Chinese as a symbol of the source of knowledge in the Middle East and Central Asia's Muslims' mind, making them prize and yearn for the Chinese civilization. In the long history, the old proverb has inspired countless Middle East and Central Asian Muslims to travel a long and difficult trip and through the land and the maritime Silk Road to visit China. Many even settled in China. Yesterday we talked about immigration, and that is in that times immigration to China. After Zhang Qian opened up the road leading to the west region, Xiyu in Chinese language, in Han Dynasty, the Silk Road gradually became a prosperous path. The Chinese historical records mark the amazing pictures along the Silk Road, where personal exchanges and trade circulation were solid. During the Tang Dynasty, there were even closer interaction between China and the Middle East and Central Asia. Islam was also introduced into China. The Tang Dynasty and the Dazi, the Arab, were two strong powers with highly developed civilization in the world. At that time, there were frequent exchanges between the two sides. During over the 100 years from AD 651 to AD 798, Dazi said evolved to turn up to 39 times in the Middle to Late Tang Dynasty. Large number of Arab, Persian, and Central Asian businessmen, diplomats, and soldiers came to China. Many of them settled down in China, in cities like Guangzhou and Quanzhou, and began to study Chinese culture as well as adapt to Chinese society. In AD 848, named Li Yansheng from the Arab also successfully obtained the degree of Jinshi in China, which became headline news at that time. Arabia traveler Suleiman, who came to China during the Tang Dynasty, stated in his book Akhbar as-Sin wal-Hind, the number of foreigners in Guangzhou, including Arabs, had reached up to over 100,000. During the Sun and Yuan dynasty, a large number of Muslims have immigrated to China from Middle East and Central Asia. Ibn Battuta, a famous Arabia traveler, has visited China and narrated many beautiful stories about Chinese people in his travelogue. Slightly later to Ibn Battuta, Wang Dayuan, a Chinese traveler, has visited many Middle East countries. During the Ming Dynasty, Zheng He, a famous Chinese Muslim navigator, has visited almost all over the countries along the maritime Silk Road in his 7 voyages. During the late Ming and Qing Dynasty, some Chinese Muslim scholars tried to explain Islam in Chinese language and Confucianism terms to promote a better understanding between both of Chinese and Islamic civilization. During the region of the Republic of China, many Chinese Muslim scholars reputedly went to the Middle East to visit the school, study, introduce Chinese culture to the Middle East countries. For example, Chinese Muslim scholars had formed a Chinese Muslim mission to the Near East and traveled to several countries in the Middle East in January 1938 to rally against the Japanese one. During this period, many students, like a famous professor in the Peking University, Ma Jian, who studied in Egypt, actively introduced Chinese culture to the Middle East countries. And he also translated the lecture of Confucius into Arabic and published it in Egypt, so that the Chinese masterpiece was known for the first time by Arab readers. That's the first part. And the second part is realistic motivation of Sino-Middle East and Central Asian countries' relations. Given that the long tradition of friendly exchanges between the people of China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries had laid the profound historic foundation for today's relations, China's initiative to build the One Belt and One Road will closely link the common dream and the pursuit of national reunion between Chinese people and the Middle East and Central Asian people together, bring new opportunities to the interaction between ordinary people of China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries, open up a new path, grant a new connotation, and reject a strong realistic motivation into the relationship of each other. First of all, the political trust between China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries represent a political foundation for mutual friendly relations. For a long time, China has pursued an independent and peaceful foreign policy. At the same time, China has supported the development of economic construction in the Middle East and the Central Asian countries. Multi-level exchanges between China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries have become more and more frequent, deepening mutual trust. All parties actively advocate and promote bilateral and multilateral exchanges and establish various bilateral and multilateral exchanges mechanisms and platforms, such as the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum, China-GCC Strategic Dialogue, China-Arab States Expo, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and so on. And good news is before yesterday, a China Arab Research Center for Reform and Development was established in Shanghai before 2 days. That is also a good news. China has established a comprehensive strategic partnership with many Middle East and Central Asian countries. That's all. And from the perspective of diplomacy in the Middle East and Central Asian countries, over the long term, the Middle East and Central Asian countries generally pursue friendly policy toward China. Particularly in recent years, they collectively prefer the Look East policy. They are optimistic about the development of China and hope that China will play a positive role in international affairs, especially in Middle East affairs. Many Middle East and Central Asian countries look forward to further developing friendly relations with China as well as expanding cooperation with China. And secondly, the increasingly close economic and trade exchanges between China and the Middle East and the Central Asian countries have provided a strong impetus for the relationship of two sides. According to China's Minister of Commerce, in 2015, the trade volume between China and Arab countries reached 251.2 billion, while then 10 years ago, in 2004, the trade volume between China and the Arab was only 36.7 billion. There is no doubt that the One Belt and One Road construction provides historic opportunities and powerful development impetus to economic and trade exchanges, personal exchanges, and heart-to-heart relationship between China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries. And also stability and development are the most basic and the most urgent wishes of most people in Middle East and Central Asian countries. In the hearts of Middle East and Central Asian people, China has become a paradigm of successfully pursuing stability and development issues. They aspire to understand China and learn from it. Many countries in the Middle East and Central Asian countries are active to do their top-level design of the economic development and a lot of project planning with the Belt and the Road, and looked forward to cooperating with China. Among founding members of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, there are 14 Middle East and Central Asian countries. They are Iran and Jordan and also many countries. So the One Belt and One Road is connecting more and more Chinese people and people in the Middle East and Central Asia closely together. Their sincere cooperation and common pursuit of the beautiful dream are writing a new chapter for the peaceful exchanges along the Silk Road. And third, China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries have many similarities and share the same value, which provides a rich spiritual nutrition for the understanding between peoples. China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries both have long and shining history of civilization, diversity, tolerance, fairness, and justice. They share many values. The Middle East and the Central Asia is one of the regions where divide or civilization most closely integrate, exchange, and communicate with each other. And Chinese scholars don't believe that the clash between civilization, and this is a Chinese scholars' view. There's many Chinese scholars in China and in the Middle East Central countries do not agree with the theory of clash of civilization. They believe that exchanges and mutual learning between Chinese civilization and the Islamic civilization can make an important contribution to the cause of world peace. In recent years, civilization dialogue between China and the Middle East and Central Asia countries are increasingly deepened cultural and people-to-people exchanges on wide areas, multilateral and bilateral exchanges, as well as multilateral cooperation mechanism and platform in many areas such as academic, culture, education, and the media are in continuous development and improvement. With their operation became smoother and smoother. For example, civilizations dialogue workshops under the framework of the China Arab States Cooperation Forum have been successfully held for 6 times since 2005. And many Chinese universities and research institutes and think tanks have actively carried out academic exchanges with the Middle East and Central Asian countries. With the increasing close exchanges between China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries, learning is becoming more and more popular in the Middle East and Central Asian countries. China has established several Confucius Institute or workshop in many Middle East countries, and also in this university I know. Paving the way of the Chinese language and Chinese culture to spread to the Middle East and Central Asia. More and more people in the Middle East and Central Asia also have generated strong interest in Chinese culture. And in nutshell, increasing close and extensive cultural exchanges between China and the Middle East and Central Asian countries have already become a strong driving force to boost heart-to-heart relationship. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ding, for your talk. And the next speaker will be Professor Zhao Jun, and his topic will be, let's see, military cooperation between Oman and India. Thank you. Let's hold the questions until all the professors have presented their speeches.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to speak here. Thanks the invitation from University of Montana. Thanks, Professor Kerr. Thanks, Professor Cao. Today, I am going to give a brief introduction on military and security cooperation between India and Oman. As we know, since India set forth looking west policy in 2005, military and security cooperation between India and Oman has been growing and developing smoothly, and so has India's military influence in the Gulf region. Now, in today's speech, I try to answer the following questions. Question 1. What's the current situation on the cooperation between India and Oman? Second one, what's the structure basis of the two countries' cooperation? What's the feature of the cooperation? What's the motive of the cooperation? And what will construct the cooperation? Now let's turn to part 1, military and security cooperation, structure basis, process, and contents. First, a structure foundation. As we know, India and Oman has a formalized defense cooperation. Is a very have a long comparatively long history, and they have a solid structure foundation as follows. Geographically, Oman, a GCC member state, is one of the nearest neighbor of India across the Arabian Sea. It is convenient for the two countries to build a kinds of allies. Historically, India and Oman have had trade and people-to-people ties for several millennia. And now, about 500 Indians live in Oman. Indians living in Oman. Politically, India and Oman call each other the most reliable partners. And India steadily support Oman in the affairs in the Middle East. And Oman steadily support India's state point, especially in UN. And now, let's look at the military and security cooperation process between the two countries. And such cooperation happened in 1993, and every year they have some cooperation events, and you can look at the lists. In 2005, MOU on defense cooperation was signed. In 2006, both countries conducted joint military exercises, signed defense agreement, and set up a military committee. In 2008, following Prime Minister Singh's visit to Oman, defense cooperation between two countries were first step up. The Indian Navy has pursued rights in Oman and has been utilizing Oman's ports as bases for conducting anti-piracy operations in Gulf Aden. Since 2009, the Indian Air Force has also been holding biannual joint exercises with Royal Air Force of Oman. In 2010, India Defense Ministry visited Oman, further enhancing cooperation level. In 2011, Oman's Minister for Defense, Saeed, visited India. In 2012, the Royal Army of Oman is fully equipped with India's INSS Hwayar. In January 2016, the 10th Nasim Baha maritime exercises were held. In May 2016, Indian Defense Minister Parikar visited Oman and upgraded bilateral defense. And at present, the two countries cooperate in many fields, and I list here. You can read first military exercises, and almost every year the two countries will hold military exercises. Next, arms sales, and Oman has Oman every year Oman will buy about 1 billion 10 how to express 就一不是多少亿，就1个亿。10 $100 million amount of arms sales. And next, counterterrorism, combating piracy, providing military facilities and equipment maintenance. And last, especially the most important, personal training, and from India, first. And second question, what are the motives of cooperation of the two countries? And according to the above mentioned facts, I think for Oman, India is a very active and very reliable partner, and will play, it thinks India will play a positive and constructive role under complex security circumstances, which is major motive from the bilateral military cooperation. Oman now has approached India in order to fence along Oman-Yemen border in order to protect the nation from growing unrest in Yemen. For India, search for energy security in the Gulf region, achieving economic benefits to combat piracy and terrorism, the low-risk strategy to realize the low-risk strategy as main driving forces. What's the feature of the cooperation? And from this process of mentioned above, I think they have three main points should be attention. The military cooperation between two countries is characterized by the following aspects. One, active behavior from India. This is the most important outstanding points. And in all the process of the cooperation, India is active, especially in agenda setting and the rise of cooperation. All this was mentioned by India. Next, enhancing levels and expanding scope of cooperation. Third, coexistence of common interests and pre-enemies. And here I explain common interests, especially on the fields of terrorism and piracy. And there is both countries' common interests. Private aims and Oman's aim is very simple, only to protect itself. But India, I think, is complex, especially about his aim included such as realize his strategy, his economic benefits, and its military influence in the Gulf region. And next, the cooperation between the two countries will be constricted by the following factors. I think one is a complex geopolitical environment of the region. Two, India's own culture and capability. Three, Oman's own view. And the last one, Pakistan. As we know, Pakistan has a good relation with the GCC country. And in the region, India, Pakistan is an important competitor country. The last one, I give a brief conclusion. Summarily, material and security cooperation between India and Oman has been growing, and so has India military influence in the Gulf region. However, it noted that it is hard for India and Oman to transcend the current security frame in the Gulf region. That's all. Thank you.
Finally, we'll have a Professor Zhou presenting his speech. His topic is the crisis of a Turkish model and Turkey-European Union relationships in the context of economic stagnation.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My presentation is about the crisis of Turkish model and the Turkish-European relationship under the stalled economy. In recent years, internal and external dilemmas become increasingly obvious to Turkey. Its previously influential international images, such as the economic miracle, myth of security, and example of democracy, had been broken. The crisis of the Turkish model has already gained attention from some scholars, but most of them believe that the crisis generated from the dramatic changes and multiple dilemmas faced by Turkey politically and diplomatically. But I think the stalled economy is among vital factors that causing the crisis, which have also impacted Turkey's foreign relationship. So it will be clearer to discuss the crisis of the Turkish model and its impacts on Turkey-Europe relations against the drop of the stalled economy. In the first part, I reviewed the stalled economy in Turkey. As we know, since the taking power of Turkish AKP, the Justice and Development Party, in 2002, more than a decade's economic booming and the economic achievements have strongly promoted the continued rise of Turkey. In recent years, however, due to the impacts from unfavorable factors internally and externally, economic growth of the country has lost speed. First, the growth rate of Turkish economy has declined significantly. We can see, according to the data released by the IMF, the growth rate of Turkish economy was under 4%, even 3% in recent years. Second, the inflation rate and unemployment rate has kept in high level. According to the statistics of Turkey government, the inflation rate were beyond 8% in recent years. The number is 8.53% last year. And the unemployment rate beyond 10% and 11.8% last year. Third, the Turkish foreign trade has been declined, and the fiscal deficit has even risen. Fourth, its currency devaluation and the climbing of external debt, especially short-term external debt, has become increasingly serious. Lira, which is the Turkish official currency, has been the most vulnerable currency of the emerging countries to impact and has been devaluated in recent years. Meantime, foreign debt of Turkey has once again shown the tendency of increasing. Low-speed economic growth and high inflation and rising debt and lack of political means all demonstrate the severity of Turkish economy. The reasons why Turkish economic miracle suffered crisis mainly are the weakening of internal momentum, over-reliance on foreign capital, and the declining of the driving force of reform, as well as multiple crises. First, the internal driving force that promoted the Turkish economic development is reducing gradually. The export-oriented economic structure is obviously vulnerable and is limited increasingly by labor costs, technical level, and financial environment. Yeah, and secondly, with the changes in international economic environment, the role of foreign investment in promoting Turkish economy has been fading. It's the growth model which is highly dependent on external capital that lies in the core of the vulnerability of Turkish economy. The high dependence on international investment made Turkey's economy easily affected by the large-scale outflow of capitals. Finally, impacts of crisis and uncertainties are the direct reasons for the increasing weakening of Turkey economy, which exposed its sensitivity and vulnerability, including the continuous political chaos and serious security situation, and the slowdown of global economy and the turbulence of its relationship with its main trade partners, and the Middle East upheaval and the refugee crisis, and so on. In the second part, I discussed the stalled economy and the crisis of Turkish model. As we know, the Turkish model is integrated based on success and experience in aspects of politics, economy, and diplomacy, which combines both moderate Islamists and democratic system. The model had received appreciation from the Europe and the West countries. It had been erected a democratic model of Islamic world. But in recent years, Turkey has faced dilemmas both at home and abroad, which caused the challenges for the Turkish model. The crisis is the result of multiple problems, including domestic political crisis and weakening economy and the diplomatic dilemmas, among which the internal politics and external environment factors have played a more direct and important role. Reviewing from the economy, the stalled economy has significantly affected the development and the changes of Turkish internal and external affairs, which has undermined the dynamics of Turkey's economy, promoted the authoritarianization of domestic politics, and worsened existed diplomatic dilemma. The piece of the other pillars, Islamic democracy and active diplomacy, has been limited. First, the stalled economy has worsened political turbulence and the conservative trend of the country, and accelerated Erdogan's paces toward strongman politics and authoritarian rule in Turkey. AKP and Erdogan's domestic political position have been impacted directly by the economic problems. In such a case, to maintain their ruling position, the conservative trend of Erdogan administration has been growing prominent. It began to maintain its influence through relying on issues including the Islam and the Kurds issues, which worsened the multiple tense relationship in the country. And the failure of Turkey's economy miracle has undermined the ruling foundation of AKP, resulting in the reducing of its public support. Around Erdogan's and the national development path, split among the people has been increasingly prominent. The people who support Erdogan and the people who against him have split into two groups, and resulting in the confrontation between the two groups of people who support and oppose the constitutional referendum respectively. The presidential system constitutional reform has further pushed forward the authoritarian rule of Erdogan to high level, which worsened the political split in the country and caused worry from international communities. Second, the weak economy of Turkey has expanded the gap between Turkish diplomatic goals and its real capability, and highlighted the diplomatic dilemma, which affected the carrying out of its active diplomacy. And the drop of the economic growth has not only affected Turkey's capability in achieving domestic political and economic growth, but also influenced the foreign policy preference of Turkey government. And nowadays, Turkey's image in the eyes of international community has transformed from positive to negative. And the active diplomacy that Turkey advocated became nothing but empty talks. Finally, the weak economy has been the biggest obstacle of Turkey's rise. Against the backdrop of continuous weakening of the economy, the GDP and the growth of its foreign trade has sharply declined. And the development goals set by the Turkish Vision 2023, the 100 goals, has already proved to be impossible. So the crisis in political, economic, and diplomatic pillars of the Turkish model, the three pillars, have intervened with each other and presented a trend of the vicious circle, which increased the uncertain risks and worsened the internal and external dilemmas. In the third part, I discussed the relationship between the crisis of Turkish model and the Turkish-EU relations. The European Union has played an important role in Turkey's rise and the establishment of the Turkish model in the last years. However, due to the issues such as Turkish accession into the EU, Turkish domestic political reforms, and the refugee crisis and the policies toward the Kurds, the relationship between the two sides has been increasingly complex. The contradictions between the two were intensified because the main foundation of the bilateral relationship has been eroded. The two even go against each other under the impacts of refugee crisis, the Kurds issues, the Middle East order, and other issues. To some extent, it's because of the changing situation of Turkish politics, economy, and diplomacy, or we can say because of the crisis of Turkish model. The crisis of Turkish model and the frustration of Turkey's accession into EU have undermined the main foundation of the bilateral relationship, made the latter easily come by crisis in case of external impacts. Firstly, with the fading of the democratic background of Turkish model, the EU has been increasingly worried and disgusted with Turkish authoritarian tendency and even dictatorship. The contradictions between Turkey and the EU on democratic ideas and the direction of political reforms have been growing prominent. The attempted military coup last July, and the situation later have dramatically changed the EU's recognition on Turkey. And Turkey speeded up its reform on presidential system change and its referendum on presidential constitutional amendment verified the EU's worries. The EU has gradually given up its expectation on Turkish democracy. For EU, it could no longer expect to stabilize its border through Turkey's democratic construction. Turkey has even become the source of problems to the EU. Secondly, the crisis of Turkish accession into the EU also seriously undermined Turkey's expectations on the EU and the EU standardizing rule to Turkey. And since Turkey has not successfully joined the EU, and this process becomes even more difficult to be achieved. So Turkey has gradually lost the driving force of reforms according to EU standards, the endless EU standards. In recent years, due to the construction of refugee crisis, political suppression after the Turkish attempted military coup, and the Turkish authoritarian transformation through democratic procedures, EU distrust or even disgust toward Turkey has been increasing, which led to Turkish frustrated accession into the Union. Finally, the Turkish self-willed diplomacy and external factors, such as the refugee crisis, has intensified the internal contractions of the Turkish-European relationship. The contradictions between the two has been increasingly prominent. The refugee crisis and the Kurds problem are vital factors standing in the way of the development of Turkey-EU relationship. In short, both Turkey and the EU's expectations on the other has shattered into pieces, made the two, especially Turkey, become increasingly impatient to its accession into the EU. Turkey is very dissatisfied with EU accusations and become growing hardline. While on the other side, Turkey's image has been a troublemaker and a bad example of democracy into the EU, not to mention its role in stabilizing the border. So currently, the contradictions and the conflicts between Turkey and the EU becomes increasingly prominent. In conclusion, the stalled economy has largely weakened the economic foundation of the Turkish model, promoting the turbulence and the conservative trend of domestic politics and speeding up the authoritarianization of Erdogan. Worsening diplomatic dilemma, coupled with the stalled economy and the democracy, led to the crisis and even bankrupt of the Turkish model. The crisis of the model has impacted on Turkish international influence and its accession to the EU as well. The foundation of the bilateral relationship between Turkey and the EU has been negatively influenced internally, and their contradictions have also been intensified by crises such as refugee crisis. Currently, the relationship between Turkey and the EU is at the crossroads of the adjustments and the reconstructions. Thank you all for attention.
Thank you very much, everybody. And now let's welcome Professor Schulze to share with us his reflections and follow-up comments. You want to be here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Fine. Well, okay, that small room anyway. So first off, thank you very much to our four presenters, Professor Liu Zhongmin, Professor Zhao Jun, Professor Ding Jun, and Professor Zhou Zhiqiang for coming all the way from Shanghai to share their work with us. And thank you, Cao Zhen, for chairing this session. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Yes, round of applause. Very happy to have people from Shanghai International Studies University here. As Professor Cao said earlier, this is a long-standing and important connection between the University of Montana and Shanghai. And we're looking to increase our exchanges with Shanghai in the near future. These are four outstanding scholars, and really glad they've come all this way to speak with us. I've also been asked to mention that the Central and Southwest Asian Studies program and the program that I direct in East Asian Studies are both under an external review next week, which is a good thing. We're bringing someone in to examine the programs, and I was just asked to mention that. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go with it, but there we are. Thank you. So I'd like to say, first of all, that one thing I really liked about all of these papers was the way in which they challenged this sort of revived 19th century notion of the clash of civilizations. No one really takes that idea seriously, but it has certain popular currency. And I think all of these scholars have pointed out not just the importance of South-South connections as we think of them, well, they point out that these are the historical norm, in fact, that there's no such thing as civilizational boundaries, that people are constantly in exchange for different sorts of reasons, and according to different kinds of mechanisms for cooperation and for conflict, whether it's military exchange or cultural exchange, economic development, or some kind of other soft power influence. So I think that's really interesting, that we've gotten a glimpse of sort of the world from a very different perspective, and foreign relations that is not Americocentric in a sense. We're thinking about how does foreign policy look when America's largely out of the picture in places like the Indian Ocean and Central Asia. So I think that's really interesting and valuable. To that end, I just want to ask 4 general questions for the panel. And if you feel like answering them, you may. If you don't, no worries. My 4 questions are these. You've made me very curious. So first, I'm curious. What do you think China's role in the Middle East should be in the near future, given that, well, China has this long-standing policy of non-intervention, and you've discussed the influence and importance of all these other foreign players. What can China's role be in Middle Eastern politics going forward? My second question is, because you've pointed out the importance of One Belt, One Road, 一带一路. So this is China's grand infrastructure project to link the eastern coast of China directly by rail with Europe, and by sea all around the Indian Ocean with the Middle East. This is a tremendous infrastructure project. But I'm curious, do you think in the future, given that Chinese personnel are abroad in Africa, Middle East, Central Asia, the Pacific, all these places, and given that, for example, recently the Islamic State directly threatened China, given that in the past there have been attacks on Chinese workers in places like Pakistan, can China maintain its military non-interventionist policy? Or will China be forced to bring its own military power to bear on these areas in order to protect their own people? Recently, for example, China's negotiated a deal with the mercenary group formerly known as Blackwater to establish bases in the southern Yunnan province and in Xinjiang. Does this indicate that China's becoming more active militarily abroad? Third question. I'm really curious about, for Zhao Jun, the Oman-India connection. Is India going to become a major player in Middle Eastern politics in the near future? Can it transcend that configuration of regional power? I'm curious about this. And finally, for Zhou Zhiqiang, so I've never been convinced that Turkey really wants to be part of the EU. Rather, I know that under Erdogan's earlier regime, when Davutoglu was still in the regime, the country was much more oriented towards Central Asia. So Turkey has trade across Central Asia, they have factories in Central Asia, even in Xinjiang they have economic interests. What do you think Turkey's role in the Central Asian region is going to be in the near future? So these are my questions. If you'd like to answer them, please do. And then we'll open it up to questions from the floor. Okay? Please.
I want to react to your first question about China's role in the Middle East. I think China's role in the Middle East is a constructive actor in the Middle East. In terms China-Middle East relations, China is a newcomer in the Middle East. China established foreign relations with Middle East countries from 1956 to 1992. Egypt was the first country which established relations with China, and Israel is the last country that established foreign relations with China. I think China-Middle East relations undergone three periods. The first period is Cold War period. China's Middle East policy is support regional support national liberation movement in the Middle East. The second period is since the opening and up 1978. The focus of China-Middle East relations in this period is economic cooperation. The third period is that after 9/11 event, China's participation in the Middle East increased interest increasingly, and China play its role in some hot issues, especially in Iran nuclear issues. I think China's position in the Middle East has some advantages and some disadvantages. These advantages including politics, economic and cultural relations. Politically, China doesn't support any side in the conflict of the Middle East. So now China hasn't any enemy in the Middle East. China keep good relations with all Middle East countries. For example, in the beginning of last year, President Xi Jinping visited 3 Middle East countries. They are Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. And as we know, in that period, Iran and Saudi Arabia broken foreign relations, but on that time, Xi Jinping visited these two countries. Economically, China had many cooperation programs with the Middle East countries, especially in the in the background, one Belt, one Road, one Belt, one road. Culturally, Chinese civilization and Islamic civilization hasn't conflict in the history and at present. But I think China's role in the Middle East is limited. Its main role is economic. China's military role is very limited. So I think China's role in the Middle East is a newcomer and constructive act in the Middle East. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, about when Belt and Road is a very big and great question. I cannot answer, but I answer in a short. We know the spirit of One Belt and One Road. We must know what the spirit. The spirit of One Belt and One Road is a spirit of Silk Road. Spirit of Silk Road is peaceful spirit. That's the spirit of One Belt and One Road. And second, the purpose of One Belt and One Road. What want the purpose? We know today the American want make America great again, make America first. But One Belt, One Road not only want China development at great, but also want to Central Asia countries and Middle East countries and many countries development and make them development, not only for China. So it's for many countries. The purpose is to build the community of interest and the community of dynasty. And we must know these 2 points. The spirit of One Belt and One Road is peaceful spirit, and the spirit of Silk Road is traditional from Silk Road. And the purpose of One Belt and One Road is share with many other countries, and not only for China. Thank you.
I think India is not a major player in the Gulf region, but a rising one. Because now, at the international level, there are major players such as USA, EU, Russia, and Japan, maybe including China, are the major players in the Gulf region. At a regional level, there are regional great power such as Egypt, Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. So India's aim to realize its great strange-looking rest. So it has a good relationship with Oman. So Oman is regarded as its the closest partner, and based on such good relations, and India want to realize transland and spread its influence in the Gulf region. as I just said, I think it is not. It is difficult for India to transcend because the cooperation as a military and security cooperation between India and Oman should be cooperated under the security framework of GCC. Okay, that's all.
Thanks. Good question by Erica. About the Turkey's role in the future, I think, as we all know, the Turkish leader, Davutoglu, Turkey's actor, foreign minister and premier minister, Davutoglu, proposed the strategic depth theory more than 10 years ago. He thought that Turkey is one of the regional powers in the many regions, including the Middle East and Balkan and Black Sea and Central Asia and Caspian and even Africa. It's right that the Turkey has multilateral advantage and a great potential to be a regional power. And as I mentioned, although the present Turkey faces many challenges and dilemmas internally and externally, but I think it could still achieve a greater growth and development in the future, because its advantages in aspects of geography, market, labor, and investment, and geopolitically, geoeconomically, still exist. The bright prospect of Turkey, I think, depends on if the country could recover the driving forces of its economy, and in China's opinion, Turkey is of various significance geopolitically and economically. Turkey plays an important role in the evolution of Eurasian geopolitical and geoeconomical structure, as well as One Belt and One Road construction. And China has established strategic cooperation partnership with Turkey in 2010. And there are great cooperative potential between China and Turkey, I think. Of course, there are some obstacles on the way of the two countries' cooperation in the future. For example, the existing trade imbalance and competition in export market, and competition for influence in the Central Asia and Turkey's not clear policy to China's Xinjiang affairs. So, like the strategic mutual trust stand in the way of the two countries' cooperation. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to turn the microphones over to the audience now. So you can be heard. So I can be heard, okay. We're going to turn the question over to the audience. If you want to be heard, there's a microphone right up there in the middle of the room. And you might want to stand by it, or apparently Cao Zhen can bring you a microphone. So who's got a question? Raise your hand. So the young woman in the back there. Yes, Michaela.
Is this on? Is it working?
Looks like not. It's probably a switch. Talk loudly.
Can you just hear me?
你们听得见吗？可以 Yep.
I was wondering if you could speak more about the phenomenon of the got it? Oh, alrighty. I was wondering if you could speak more about the phenomenon of a lot of Sunni groups being U.S. allies rather than Shiite groups. You talked about that phenomenon in your speech a little bit, and I was wondering if maybe you could just elaborate why you think Sunni groups have a tendency to ally with the U.S.
In my presentation, I mentioned that there are an interesting phenomenon in the Middle East. It is the U.S. alliance is Sunni countries and Shia countries is the enemy of the U.S. I think the key issue maybe is U.S.-Iran relations. Since the breaking out of Iran Islamic Revolution, the U.S.-Iran relations is confrontation in many areas, including politics, ideology. So, in many years, Iran is the first enemy in the Middle East. And Iran is also a Shia countries. Other Shia countries and Shia organizations such as Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Syrian Bashar Assad regime. All these Shia groups and Shia countries are allies of Iran. So in the Middle East, there is a Shia group and Shia camp led by Iran. And Iran is the bigger enemy in the Middle East region of the U.S. And other Sunni countries, especially GCC countries, GCC led by Saudi Arabia. I think these countries are important partner of the U.S. in the Middle East, in many areas such as energy, security. So in the Arab Spring, the U.S. carried out double standard policy in the Arab Spring. For example, in Egypt, Libya, and Syria, American supported the opposition. And in GCC countries, for example, in Bahrain's opposition is the Shia. But American supported the Saudi Arabia oppressed Shia movement. So Sunni Shia relations is very complicated. But I think the core issue is the U.S.-Iran relations and the U.S.-Saudi Arabia relations. That's all.
Probably we only have a time for one short question. Any more quick? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was curious, is there a specific threat that India is worried about, a specific country or organization, or are they just building a sort of general defense with Oman, and are they in it more for economic gain as opposed to military gain?
这是印度和欧盟是不是为了抵抗一个特殊的问题或者特殊的巨量，还是为什么？
对，有的。
就是说这两个国家的关系这么好，还是为什么？
Thank you. A very good question. And I think the cooperation between India and Oman has a solid structural foundation. And first, geographically, they are very close. They are very close. And historically, India and Oman, people to people, has a long history of ties, and especially trade, in trade. Third, economically, Oman is a state. Is a state that India get foreign currency in the Middle East region. Very important. And every year, India will get $5 billion, $5 billion from Oman. And I think, and at last,
这是不是说，欧盟和印度的那个合作，军事合作，基本上是一种经济合作，对不对？
和安全战略，对，哎，好 ，and especially in summary, generally speaking, the cooperation between the two countries maybe their aims to counter terrorism and anti-piracy, and for India to realize its grand strategy looking west. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, that concludes this afternoon's panel. And let's give another round of applause to the four visitors and wish them a pleasant trip back to Shanghai. They are leaving tomorrow. Have a good trip back. Wish we will see you in the future. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you.